So this video is going to go over how to slice and then send a file using Creality Print. You can use Creality Print for quite a few different printers. Our main printer is going to be the Creality Ender 3 V3, and we also have an Ender 3 V3 Plus, and we also can slice files for a Prusa using this slicer. When you open Creality Print up for the first time, you'll have to go through a couple of introductory screens and kind of skip your way through. And eventually it will take you to where you need to select what printer you are slicing files for. If it's not your first time, you still want to double check that. And right up here in the top left, you can see where it says Creality Ender 3 V3, and then it has a 0.4 nozzle. The 0.4 nozzle is kind of the default across all of our printers, and that's what we always want to choose. But if we hit that drop down arrow there, we can hit select or remove printers, and that should bring us into a selection screen that's taking a minute to load. And you can see, to start with, it goes right into Creality printers, but there are others that we can scroll through down here. You can see you can slice for a lot of different printers. We're going to stick with the ones that we have as our workhorses, which is the Ender 3 V3s. So that's under Creality. Click on Ender series. And then when you're over here, you can see there's a lot of Ender 3s, and there's actually a couple of V3s. You want to make sure that you select the right one. The one that we use for the majority of our printing is this one right here, Creality Ender 3 V3. Okay. If you are doing a larger print, you could potentially be setting up for the V3 Plus, but these other V3s we don't ever use. We don't have a V3KE, and there is an SE as well. So anyway, make sure you select Creality Ender 3 V3, hit that check mark, hit confirm, and that should, if you weren't already on it, change the build plate so that it looks exactly like our printers that we have in class. Once you're in here and you have the correct printer selected, the next thing you should do is come up here to the Add button, and you should be able to go to your Downloads folder, and you should be able to select the STL file that you exported from whichever CAD program you used. And you can see I have a bunch of different examples. I'm going to select my Onshape, but any of these would work just fine. And when I bring that in, you can see that that will place it pretty much right in the center of the plate, and it should be selected. If it's not selected, you can see right now I just clicked off of it, so it's not. You can simply click on it to select it again, and that will make all these buttons along the top active. You can choose move and then use any of these arrows to move it. For the most part, if you're doing a single part, you'd prefer to keep it in the center. Right next to it is the rotate button, and this particular print, if we zoom in and look a little closer at it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to print it in its current orientation. So you do want to think about how your particular model is going to print the best. And for this model, I'm going to lay it so that this surface right here is going to lay flat. So the way I'm going to do that is I go into this rotate view right here using the button, and I choose which one of these three circles are going to be the one that I want to rotate it about, and I'm just going to start to rotate it in the right direction. But once I do that, I'm not going to try and get it perfect because it's tough to just freehand rotate it perfectly. I'm going to go up here to my coordinates, and I can see I was using the red circle. So if I go to the red dimension, which in this case is the X, I can see I was moving it in a negative direction. And I know that I want to move that 90 degrees, so I'm just going to make that negative 90 and hit enter. You can see that placed it exactly how I wanted it. I do typically move it a little bit free-handed first just to make sure I'm moving it the right direction, but that's about it. For this particular object, I don't really have to do much else besides slice it, but other things that you can do, you can use this arrange if you were looking to neatly place multiple items. This scale button right here is sometimes used if it's not brought in at the right scale, but hopefully the vast majority of your stuff, if you're exporting something that actually fits on the build plate and you export it in millimeters, it should come in at the right size. So you shouldn't typically have to scale it. For the most part, if you have dimensional uh, changes that you would like to make, you want to do that in your CAD program. Additionally, if you're doing something that requires supports, over here on the right hand side, and if you don't see all the same options that I do, you can always click on this advanced parameters and it gives you even more options. But this one right here is for supports, and you can click enable supports if it is something that requires them. For this particular print, I'm going to leave that turned off. Oftentimes, if I do enable supports, I will also add a couple of raft layers to make sure that I have a raft. But again, I'm going to leave that stuff turned off for this particular print. And once I have all of that stuff set up ready, I'm going to come down here to slice plate. And when I slice my plate, it's going to take a minute to process, and then it should take me into a preview mode. And you can see in this preview mode, I didn't delete my raft layers, so I can see these green lines right here. Those are my raft. And I generally don't add a raft unless I need it. So if you want to change that, you can change that now and then hit slice plate again. And once it's done processing, you can see now it doesn't have a raft. It's just showing me my object. If I'd like to see what it looks like each layer, you can come over here to this slider and take a look at all the different layers from number 1, in this case, up to number 20. And when I'm happy with it, I can then hit this drop down next to send print. And you want to make sure that you choose export plate sliced file. That is the only one that you want to use. And when you click on that, that's going to bring you into a save as menu. And you want to make sure that you are saving that onto one of your USB drives. So you can take that USB drive, plug that into your computer. I'm going to plug that in right now. And that should show up. Then when you scroll down through here as a USB drive, and I'm going to simply save it there. You don't need to open the local folder, and then make sure that you remember to safely eject that USB drive before you pull it. And then you're ready to take that USB drive to the Ender 3 V3 printer that you choose to create your print on.